guys want to talk about.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's installment of For the Love of Wrestling. Happy Halloween morning. Happy Halloween afternoon to all my East Coasters. Hopefully you guys are getting ready to have a safe and sane Halloween. I know we here at the Jeff Meacham Network Multiversa Media are looking to get a little bit wild and crazy here today. We have got so much output here today across the multiverse that it is not even funny. Kicking things off today with my discussion and take on Raw. Then, of course, we're going to have Dad's Not Always on Wrestling coming up at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern. Stat Boy Sports Bar at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. And then our coverage of Night 2, Halloween Havoc at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. And then as soon as all that goes off the air at 8 Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, Jeff Meacham will take the waves with the flagship of the multiverse of media, Talk Wrestling. But before we get to all of that, we have to talk about Monday Night Raw. That's right, Meacham. The very opposite of funny. We's gonna die today. And much like the monster said at the end of Bride of Frankenstein, we be long dead. But I digress. Let's get into Monday Night Raw. Raw kicked off with Mommy, Dirty Dom, and JD McDonough coming out to the ring. Mommy welcomes us to Raw, the show that the Judgment Day runs. She talks about Priest shattering Cody's ankle last week, hypes up Dom versus Ricochet, and JD versus Seth Rollins for later in the evening. Talks about her 5-way match coming up this weekend at Crown Jewel and how the odds are being stacked against her. And Sami Zayn comes out. Sami Zayn says he's tired of hearing about the Judgment Day and how they have all the gold and how they run Raw. And as long as there is an ounce of breath in his body, he is going to do everything he can to fight them and to tear them down. And on the surface, people may think of that and be like, that's Sami Zayn. Who started the crumble in the bloodline? Sami Zayn. So do not sell Sami short. He can definitely be the man that helps to crumble the Judgment Day as well. Mommy proposes a match for Sami versus Priest. A brawl ensues. Ricochet comes out to help Sami, and Ricochet and Dirty Dom is going to be our first match of the evening. It was a fantastic opener, high intensity, fast paced. McDonough and Mommy definitely made their presence felt at ringside, allowing Dom to get the dirty win with a handful of tights. This was just a great, like I said at the outset, it was a fun match. Dom is definitely stepping his game up here in recent weeks and months. Like, I would say that the past 5 months have really been Dominic Mysterio starting to hit his stride, and getting the North American Championship around his waist has just added. He's gotten exponentially better since he became a singles champion. He's been going to NXT. He's been working in the Performance Center, and you can see the improvement in the kid. Not only is his in-ring work getting better, but his confidence in the ring and on the microphone is improving. Watch out for Dom. I definitely think he can be a main event player in another 5 years. What is up, Stat Boy? This is Halloween. To all his internet fans, like I said, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 Eastern, Stat Boy Sports Bar. Keen Mike in the house. What is going on, man? We then got a DIY reunion video kind of letting people know their history and how they hadn't teamed together in 3 years. We then went to the match that I was anticipating the most. Alpha Academy, Chad Gable went on to social media, specifically the Twix this weekend, talked about how Alpha Academy were just dominating the Germany tour that they were on. They were feeling froggy. They issued an open challenge. And the Creed brothers from My NXT answered that challenge. And as soon as that got out, that it was going to be Alpha Academy versus the Creed brothers, I started clamoring. It's like, dude, take my fucking money. Please just take it, because this has been something I've been wanting to see since I started watching the Rainbow Bright 2.0 era of NXT and was first introduced to the Creeds. This was fantastic tag team wrestling. Every booker in any promotion needs to watch this match. It was just amazing. This is my NXT. This is what I fight and try to get people to recognize and support. And no, I don't freaking digress. Some great chain wrestling between all four competitors. Chad Gable and Julius Creed was just chef's kiss phenomenal. Brutus and Otis were your typical big meaty men slapping meat, but they need to not be understated in their presence and their ability. All four men were just tremendous in the ring. The Creeds won an outstanding contest. Ivy Nile, they're at ringside with them. Girl damn near had me crying at the outset, because when you watch them come out, you could see how emotional she was at the top of the ramp. It was just a moment. And I hope that this just means bigger and better things for the Creed brothers going forward. I hope we see them integrated in the Raw roster. Honestly, I hope they join up with Alpha Academy based on the respect shown. Alpha Academy seems like they've been expanding for the better part of this year. You figure first they added Maxine Dupree. Now they seem to have added Akira Tozawa. Then if you add the Creed brothers also, you've got a nice little stable there. And I mean, I feel like some of the younger fans may not get it, but watching Alpha Academy and the Creeds took me back to like watching the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation. Like, it was that good. I'm being sincere. And yes, that tag match was awesome. Big shout out to Rage of Wrestling, Walter Cruz in this house. You're gonna die this week. All the content, all the content, all the content. Damn right. We then saw Judgment Day in their dressing room, and the new Judgment Day, the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston came in to trick or treat. Xavier was dressed as Dirty Dom. Kofi was dressed as Priest. Priests and Balor just kind of dismissed them. Mommy comes in with JD and Dom. Dom and Xavier kind of have a look there for a moment. Priest talks about the possibilities at Crown Jewel on Sunday. Priest kind of goes off on this diatribe about how there's not supposed to be a leader in the Judgment Day. So why is Mommy out there making matches if there's no leader? Definitely showed a little bit of dissension within them again, but at the same time, you could kind of see the build to bigger and better things. We then got a Miz TV segment with Gunther. It was a standard Miz TV segment. Gunther humiliated The Miz. Kaiser humiliated The Miz. They were getting on Giovanni Vinci a little bit. Kaiser destroyed some of the decor in the set, goes backstage. Miz tells Adam Pearce that he was humiliated, says that he wants an Intercontinental title match against Gunther since he's the one who made that title prestigious again. Pierce says, I can't just give you a match because somebody else has been sitting here trying to get that, but I can give you an opportunity. And all of this is going to lead to a fatal four-way match next week on Raw for a shot at the Intercontinental title. We've got Walter saying that Alpha Academy and Creeds would be a nice stable, but you got to let Tozawa wrestle and be good. No more goofiness. Turn him around. It's believable. You can say that he learned to be a real wrestler under the Academy is getting better. Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have the goofy wrestler, because even in Alpha Academy, Gable with his shoosh and the thank yous is kind of goofy. Otis doing the caterpillar is goofy. But at the same time, once they get in there, they show that they can perform. I think next week with the match that was made and announced between Tozawa and Shinsuke Nakamura, Tozawa is going to show what he can do in there. Jeff says, sorry if I'm not commenting a whole bunch today. Only watched parts of Raw, and he's finishing prep for the rest of this crazy day. Yeah, I don't begrudge you that, brother. Mansfield in the house. Tag team fucking wrestling. Damn it, so awesome. We haven't gotten to Bunny Natty. Damn it, calm down. If you want to dictate the conversation, Mansfield, super chat. It's as simple as that. Walter says that he likes that this many people want the IC title. However, shouldn't this many people or more want the main title? Yes, but Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns. That's going to be untouchable for the time being. And Seth is Seth. Who's the longest reigning champion right now? Gunther. So everybody is trying to dethrone Gunther and take him down. Only second to Roman Reigns, who's obviously been champion for like 3.5 years, but he's never there. We then had Imperium versus DIY, and this was another fantastic tag team match. Vinci missed an important spot, allowing the DIY to get the victory in their first match back together in 3 years. Again, tag team wrestling is getting better in WWE, and I'm here for it, man. I was always a fan coming into things of tag team wrestling, but then again, I came into an era that had the New Age Outlaws. I came into an era that had, the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, the Acolytes, even going as far as like TNA, Test and Albert, and all those teams. And then you migrate into the Ruthless Aggression era, and you had freaking Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. You had La Resistance. You had like great tag teams. So I'm glad to see that they're putting some focus in their tag team division once again. If they could only apply that to their women's tag division, but that's a whole other story. That's a whole other diatribe that I just don't have time for right now. Walter says that DIY's music was so bad. I mean, it was the first time I heard it, so I was kind of whatever, but I really like both Ciampa's singles theme and Gargano's Rebel Heart theme, so in comparison, it definitely sucks, and yeah, this should have been on PLE, but it's going to take some time. You don't want to give DIY their first match back on a PLE. You want to build them up a little bit. Maybe they'll get into Survivor Series. I don't know about Crown Jewel. See, I want Survivor Series to be a mix of all the stuff we've seen in the past. I want there to be your standard Survivor Series match. I want there to be your battle for brand supremacy matches. And I want the main event to be war games. Like, I just want there to be a nice, hybrid of stuff. And I feel like you could very easily do a traditional Survivor Series match with Imperium, maybe Big Bronson Reed, and somebody else against DIY, Miz, because it looks like they're turning him face, and then maybe Gable and Otis. And just have like the traditional Survivor Series match there. I don't know though. We then got a Shinsuke Nakamura video package where he was basically like, who's going to step up, who's going to be the next one to try to step to me. And again, I love these Nakamura promos. They're so eerie and sinister in the way that they're shot and edited and the way he speaks his native Japanese. But at the same time, he needs to start getting victories. Otherwise, it's pointless. Now we get into a match that I just could give less than a fuck about. And before Jeff jumps down my throat, it's got nothing to do with who was in it. As we had Xia Li versus Candice LeRae. Not Candice Michelle, Michael Cole. Candice LeRae. Everybody that has seen me talk knows that I am anti-Candice LeRae. I am not a fan of hers. But this was a very lackluster match between two people that have been struggling for television time. This match should have been a lot better. This match should have been like, you're not fucking booking me on the shows. I'm going to show you why you need to book me on the shows. And at the end of the day, the match wouldn't have even qualified as an NXT main event. It was that fucking lackluster and horrible. I just didn't care. Referee stopped the match because Candice couldn't continue. Xia Li looked dominant. I do like that fact that they made her look dominant and she just destroyed Candice LeRae. But this match should have been so much better. It should have been so much better. Like I said, it should have been, this is why you need to book us more and not just leave us in catering. Instead, it ended up being, we're probably going to keep you in catering for another 6 months until we trot you out for the Royal Rumble just because we need bodies to get up to 30 people. And if we do another round of cuts between now and then, your ass might be fired. It was just bad. Especially in comparison, again, to what my NXT did last week at Halloween Havoc and what they very well may do this week at Halloween Havoc. Women did not get a strong showing here. Let me see here. What do we got going on? Mansfield says, somewhere Noah's Simple Man senses are tingling when you said you want brand supremacy match in Survivor Series. I don't want the whole show to be that. But I think having a match like that wouldn't be an issue. Whether it's Rhea Ripley versus, because we're talking Survivor Series, whether it's Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky or Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, or we have, Mysterio or Logan Paul versus Gunther. One match, fine. An entire show of it, no. That's the difference, Josh. Josh also says Shinsuke is likely calling out Cody Rhodes, not Punk, you bunch of marks. I'm going to leave that where it is because you know where I stand on CM Punk, Josh, and I feel like you're trying to get me riled up. And it's not going to work on that one. Walter says he likes the Nakamura promos. How many years has he been on the channels saying that people like Nakamura and Asuka need to just be allowed to cut promos in Japanese? I agree with you there, sir. I agree with you. I don't know how long you've been on the channel saying it, because I've only been back watching for the better part of almost 2 years now. But I have heard you say it a couple times. We then get Sammy and Jey Uso backstage. Jey wishes Sammy good luck in his match against Damian Priest. And then I think it was Kathy Kelly walked in, or Jackie Redmond, I don't remember which, to start talking to Jey Uso. Sammy excused himself. Jey goes on to say that Sammy is going to handle his business tonight. Cody's going to handle business at Crown Jewel. And maybe in the next couple weeks, him and Cody will get another shot at those tag team belts. We then got a video package from Drew McIntyre, just kind of talking about how no more broken dreams, talking about how he had his moment at WrestleMania in front of nobody, and he's been struggling to try to get that momentum back ever since losing the title. I think it was well produced, but I also feel like they're turning Drew into too much of a crybaby, and Drew's too badass to be a crybaby. I'm just saying. We then had a Seth Rollins promo, basically saying, boo-hoo Drew. Everybody suffered in 2020. Some people suffered more than others. Some people were wondering when they were going to get their next paycheck. Some people were wondering if family members were going to survive through it. And I totally get what Seth is saying here, because as a man who was an essential employee during that time, working at Walmart and having to go to work while other people were able to sit home and not work or work for home, I totally get where he was coming from there. He says that guys like Sammy and Cody aren't asking for pity, so he needs to get in line when it comes to wanting championship opportunities. Says that the Messiah is gone, that he's no longer the architect, and then JD McDonough runs in and cracks Seth Rollins, which leads into our next match, Seth Rollins versus JD McDonough. Again, we knew going in who was going to win this match. But JD McDonough had a fantastic showing representing my NXT. Priest came out and stood ringside trying to be ominous, like, he might go ahead and cash the championship briefcase in during that match while he was facing JD McDonough. Rollins won, of course, but like I said, McDonough had a fantastic showing here. Very proud of what he did in this match. I am a huge Irish Ace fan. I just wish WWE would start marketing him and making some shirts. Walter says, I get what JJ is saying. Have one match of brand supremacy, a Team Pierce versus Team Aldis match, like we had Team Bischoff versus Team Austin, that type of thing. Josh says, the video package plus Seth in his match versus JD. Adding to it that Drew's contract is up soon equals Drew is winning Saturday to get him to stay. Possibly. I wouldn't be opposed, but what about the briefcase? I don't know if Pierce can go one-on-one anymore, bro. And even if Pierce isn't injured to the point where he can't go anymore, I think he's been retired for too long that the match wouldn't be that good. But if you want to check out Adam Pearce in his prime, on Adam Pearce's YouTube channel, you can find the 2+ hour documentary on the seven Levels of Hate series he had against Colt Cabana, as well as all of the matches contained within that series. Match 1, I was at. Jeff was at. So you might even see us in the crowd watching that one back. But if you really want to see Adam Pearce in his prime, Go back and watch that 7 Levels of Hate documentary and series that is free to watch on Adam Pearce's YouTube. We then saw Pierce backstage, and he gives Ricochet an opportunity for the IC title, much like he did for Miz and Big Bronson Reed. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven come in dressed as the Hart Foundation. This had to be some of the most comical shit that I've seen in a long time. It's going to be a trick or street fight. Ivar and Valhalla came in afterwards and also asked to talk to Pierce in his office. So the fatal four-way next week is going to be Big Bronson Reed, The Miz, Ricochet, and Ivar. And the winner gets a shot at Gunther and the Intercontinental title. Unfortunately, the number one contenders match will be the Raw after Crown Jewel, so the match won't be at Crown Jewel. And if I know WWE, they'll make the title match prior to Survivor Series instead of actually saving the match for Survivor Series. It just is what it is. We then had a Becky Lynch interview, and this kind of sounded very bitter critter to me coming out of Becky Lynch. Becky said that she defended her women's title more times than Rhea has defended her title this year, and more times than Roman has defended his title this year. In her 42 days as NXT Women's Champion, she defended that title more than either one of those champions. And I'm just like, man, I feel like Becky and management are just really butting heads right now, going back to her and Trish being pulled from SummerSlam. Xia Li came in and asked Becky why she ducked her and dodged her when she wanted a title opportunity. And now she doesn't have the title to be trying to fight for from her anymore. Says that Becky's like, well, you keep doing this week after week. If you want a match, we can have a match. And Xia Li gives the whole, we'll do it, but on my time. It was what it was. Again, I said it last week. I'll say it every time I get on the microphone and can preach it. My NXT is the number 2 women's division stateside, only behind Impact's Knockouts division. And it's sad that NXT's developmental brand and the women that are still trying to find their footing in this business and come up in the world are booked better and perform better than the women on the main roster. Which brings us to our next match, the trick or street fight between Natalya, dressed as a bunny, versus Chelsea Green, dressed as Bret Hart. This was so disappointing to me. Considering how far WWE women's wrestling has come in the last, we'll say, almost full decade. This took me back to when they would have the mud pit matches and the gravy bowl matches and the evening gown matches and the bra and panties matches. This was sexualization of the women simply to sexualize the women. It was horrid. Natty is way better than this. Chelsea is way better than this. A candy cane kendo stick. What the actual shit? They took a spot from AEW this past week where Abaddon had brought out a little bag, and normally people would think it was thumbtacks and it was candy. They did the same spot, except it was candy corn. I was just waiting for Hervina or Santina Morella to come trotting out there and embarrass themselves, because this was just fucking abysmal. And both women are so much better than that. Especially Natty, who's been in the company since 0708. 15-year veteran of the company. Don't get me wrong. Natty looked amazing in her bunny outfit. But this was just the drizzling shits. Then we got our main event, Damian Priest versus Sami Zayn. It was a decent main event. It was your typical go-home Raw show main event. Finish was overbooked. Priest won via DQ. Cody Rhodes came out, hit the crossroads on JD McDonough not once but twice on the announce table. I feel like the main event should have been Rollins versus McDonough, or the tag team match with Alpha Academy and the Creeds, because both those matches were better than Priest and Sammy. Again, the overbooking of the match just really killed it for me. But I'm not the only one here. I've got 9 people walking. I've got a bunch of people in the chat room commenting, including Josh and Walter. Keen Mike, I think, is still here. Jeff, I think, is still here. I'm curious to know what you guys thought of Raw. Let me know. I'm going to take a quick break, run a couple of very, very quick trailers just to try to get our shills in for everything that's coming up the rest of today. All the watch-alongs that are coming up leading into summer of next year. And then I'm also going to show what open mic night specials are coming across the multiverse beginning in November. So 3 trailers, just shy of 2 minutes. Get your last minute comments in for me to bring up after these brief messages.
Hi, Georgie. Don't you want a balloon?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice candy.
Don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
Stay afloat, Georgie. Stay afloat. And when you're down here with me, you float too!
You know, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare, huh?
I am Dracula. I bid you welcome, Mr. Bell. Children of the night, what music they make.
Even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the autumn moon is bright.
The way you walked was thorny, through no fault of your own. But as the rain enters the soil, the river enters the sea. So tears ran to a predestined end.
Give me the power, I beg of you!
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Kill her, Mommy! Kill her! Don't let her get away, Mommy! Don't let her live!
Andy, no! Please! We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
So much stuff coming up here today and all the way into next year across the multiverse of media. You want to make sure that you like, subscribe, turn that bell on so you're notified whenever videos go up, whenever we go live. See what we got here. Josh said, he, Bunny Natty. What? I was very sports entertained. Josh says he enjoyed it. Unfortunately, he can't watch Crown Jewel, though. That's a bummer, Mansfield. We did get a super chat from Emmanuel. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Just a heads up, since you are a member, as is Josh, make sure you go and check out the call Noah and I did for Halloween Havoc 97. Mask versus title, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr., as that is exclusive to you members. If you would like to join the members only section, it is only $5 and you get all kinds of content like that is exclusive to you guys. In any event, Emmanuel says Natty's storyline makes no sense. If she's standing up for the younger roster, where are they? Why is nobody helping her? Just a head scratcher. Very valid point. Very valid point. You know, why did nobody come out to assist her and have her back the way Piper Niven was there to have Chelsea's back? You know, they could have brought somebody up from NXT, you know, where Tegan Knox, I think, is injured, but there's a bunch of women that they could have had come out there to second her. Jeff says, again, missed a fuck ton of Raw thanks to outside forces pulling him from the TV. But what he saw, he liked. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a horrible go-home show. I just feel like the main event was overbooked and lackluster as such, and the two women's matches were just the drizzling shits. I think I'd probably give it somewhere between a C+ and a B-. You know, it was better than average, but it definitely could have been a lot better. Walter says this is a step back for the women's division. Exactly. This was a horny teenage attitude era match. It was bad. You've got Jade about to debut. You need to move the division forwards, not take a step backwards. You know, I mean, in the aura of your horny teenage attitude era comment, Walter, let us both not act like we wouldn't mind seeing Jade do something this sexy. But I definitely agree with you. The women need to be moving forward in this day and age, especially when you sit and you look at what the Knockouts division is doing and has been doing for the better part of the last 15 years. And you've got the women's division here in WWE, and they just seem to keep going backwards. Keen Mike says, I don't remember Natty winning a match in years. Exactly. I mean, I remember seeing her on a match last year on my NXT, Natalya versus Cora Jade, that Natalya won. Other than that, it's been a minute since I can recall Natty winning a match. Walter says Raw was okay, but those matches screwed it up. Exactly. I mean, they can get away with it because it was Halloween. Okay, fair, but I would be more willing to give slack if the other match, the Candice LeRae Xia Li match, had actually had some weight to it and been better. I'd be willing to chalk the Natalya and Chelsea Green up as just, oh, it's a sexy street fight because it's Halloween. But the Candice Xia Li match sucked balls too. And again, Jeff, I know you probably don't believe me, but it really has nothing to do with my hatred to Candice LeRae. It just was a poorly executed and booked match. So that is everything for me today. Again, Dad's Not Always on Wrestling, ranking the Halloween franchise, going to be starting up at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. You've got a little bit over an hour until we go on the air with that. So make sure you've got your snacks ready, your popcorn, your jujubes, your M&Ms, your Reese's Pieces. Get your tasty beverages poured. Get a cup of coffee, an energy drink. Get you your soda, whatever it is that you want for that. 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. And then you got Statboy Sports Bar at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern. Mike and Dory Lou going through the stats of the week. Hopefully they won't go more than about an hour and a half We'll have to see what happens there. Josh, I know you're in the chat room. Are you going to be on that show? Go ahead and throw it in the comments real quick. And then, of course, our coverage of Halloween Havoc beginning at 4:30 Pacific, 7:30 Eastern, and talk wrestling to wrap out the day. So much good stuff ahead of us here. Continuing again in just a little over an hour on both the Casa D18 Studios channel and the Jeff Meacham Network. Emmanuel says, one last comment. You have a package for Candice LeRae and you have her lose. Like what? You just hyping her up, then let her win. Agreed. Keen Mike said it was actually bad. Agreed. Jeff says that match was doomed from jump when Cole fucking called her Candice Michelle. Yeah. At first I thought I misheard things. And then when Wade Barrett started clowning him coming out of the package, I was like, okay, I did hear it right. Worst match of the year contender, definitely. I think they wanted Zaya to look like a monster, but it came out so awkward. Yeah. Like, I get that they wanted Xia Li to be this badass, you know, but it was just poorly timed and ill executed. Again, that is it until tomorrow on For the Love of Wrestling. Same bat time, same bat channel when I will be discussing NXT. I am the Renegade JJ Williams. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I will hopefully see a good chunk of you guys in about an hour and 15 minutes, give or take, as Jeff and I rank the Halloween franchise. Take it easy.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.